Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. I'm just going to wait for a few seconds for everybody to log on. Give me a hashtag replay if you're on this early. You're probably watching the replay since those of you who come in live don't usually see me on this early. So I'm going to just look down really quick to get on Facebook so I can interact with you guys. Sometimes when I'm using StreamYard, I can't see all your comments. And if you're watching from YouTube, Facebook, whatever platform you're watching from, make sure that you give StreamYard permission so that I can see your comments and we can interact a little bit more. So I always love the interaction. For those of you who don't know me, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Evelyn Knight. I am the Childcare Business Coach, the host of the podcast, the Childcare Business Coach. I'm a childcare center owner, just like most of you. I have been in this field my entire life. I've worked every position in the field: director, cook, driver, infant teacher, preschool teacher, you name it. I have done it all. I am also the founder and CEO of Childcare Business Professionals, which is a company that helps owners and directors find success while balancing high quality research-based standards. So I'm not going to waste your time too much with that today. I'm going to get right to it for you guys. I know that your time is valuable and I like to be conscious of your time, so I will just get right to it. Please make sure that you leave comments. It does get lonely on this side of the camera, so I really do love the interactions with you guys. And so again, I'm just going to recap really quick on the pillars that we were talking about yesterday and what I'll be going through this week. So yesterday we were talking about knowing your business and what makes you unique. So again, if you don't have a workbook, please message me, let me know that you need a workbook. I can have my assistant get them to you. I can send them to you. Leave a note in the comments. I will have her go through the comments later for both videos to make sure that everybody gets a workbook. It really is helpful. It's just something I've put together for you that will help you to keep notes as we go so that you can get everything you need out of this workshop. Your time is valuable, and even though this workshop is free, your time is worth something. So make sure you get what you can. Again, I'm going to reiterate the importance of setting aside the time. You are worth it, right? You are worth relieving the stress of constantly feeling like you're chasing down clients and not knowing how to get families in the room, right, into your centers. So take this time. Make sure that you set that time aside every day. An hour a day is all you really need to just get all this content in, watch the videos, and participate. Each video is 30 to 45 minutes long, and then take that extra time to just work through the workbook and create a plan. You guys can do all the trainings in the world, but if you don't implement, they mean nothing. So just think about that. Statistics show that out of all the trainings we take, we only implement 15% of what we learn. So if you're taking the time today to do this workshop with me, make sure that you take the time to implement and do the work also. You owe it to yourself. So that is basically just the housekeeping reminders. Again, say hello as you pop in so I know that you're there. And this is, hi, Carmen, you made it. Yay. Carmen is my client from Panama. One day I really need to go visit you, Carmen. Love to do a trip to Panama. So say hi as you come in. I really love to know who all is in the room with me here. So I'm going to be trying to keep, and I see Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Sherry lives not too far from me. She is a home provider that's not very far from me. So hello, Sherry. I hope it is a beautiful morning for us here in Northern Nevada. I know, so I hope you guys are having some great weather like we are. So again, I'm going to go over the pillars. First pillar is knowing your business. What sets you apart? What makes you unique? What is your center's superpower? And how do you fill the gap, right? The second, and that's what we talked about yesterday. The second pillar that we're going to talk about today is basically your online and your first impression persona, right? So today we're going to talk about being online, your telephone presence, all of that. So it's basically being found. It's how do people find you? That's what we're talking about today. This tomorrow, we're going to be talking about your professional persona. What do they see? So now that they found you, what do they see? What are you putting out to the world, right? How does your center look? How does it appear? What is it like when you're touring? Things like that. What impression are you guys giving that first? Well, by the time they get to your center, you're giving a second impression. They've already gotten their first impression. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the tour. The tour is so important. So always be tour ready. How do you structure the tour? What kind of things should you be including in the tour? What are you doing in the tour? The other thing to think about when it comes to tours is, in the land of COVID, how are some ways that we could do the tour in more creative fashions, right? What are some creative ways that we can conduct tours? So that's something we're going to be talking about today also. And then the last one day on Friday, we're going to be talking about follow-up and retention. Follow-up and retention is very, very important, and probably the most important day. If you cannot make any session, the one session you absolutely want to make is Fridays, follow-up and retention. And it's because only 3% of our competition and in our industry, only 3% of the industry is doing this last piece of the puzzle. And this, if you forget everything else I teach you guys, if you don't implement anything else, if you just do the follow-up, you're going to be 97% ahead of your competition. So that is just basically what I've got for you this week. So make sure you join. Again, be sure to be here every day. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your center. I know what it feels like to be a center owner that is struggling and that just can't figure out why we can't get people through the door. And that is why I do this. Years ago, I was almost bankrupt. I almost lost my center. And it's a horrible feeling. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like, which is why I started Childcare Business Professionals, why I do these free programs for you guys, is I don't want anyone else to feel the way I felt. And if I can just help one owner from losing their center, it's all worth my time and energy. So that being said, I also have my podcast. I've got to give it a shameless plug. It is totally free. Lots of resources to help you guys with being successful in your childcare centers also. So I'm hoping that we get a guest today. I have actually asked my computer specialist and my IT guy to join us today so that he can talk a little bit about your online presence. But before I get there, I just want to talk a little bit about why is it so important? And I want you to think to yourself about it really quick. Whenever you need anything, right? You need something for your car. Okay, what is the first thing we do when we need something for our car? The first thing that we do is we open up our cell phones and we Google it, right? Or you might use Safari, you might ask Siri. I have an Android, so I might, hey Google, find whatever. So that is the first thing we do. We search online. Number one place we look for things. So when parents are looking for childcare, where do you think they're going? They're going online. They're talking to their friends and they're going online. And a lot of times they're asking their friends online, right? Now, in our day and age, there's so many different forums, right? Whether you're on Reddit, you're on Facebook, but every community has a forum now where you can just be a part of your community forums and just chat and ask questions. And that is a huge area where the people are finding you. They are finding you online. I guarantee it, right? 90% of your customers Googled childcare when they needed it, right? And that is where they're finding you. So making sure that you have a very strong online presence is extremely important. Making sure that your website is really on point is very, very important. Your website is going to be the first impression families get of you. And so that makes the website a very, very important component to your childcare center. So I want you to think about, and when we're done with this session, I want you to open up your phone and just Google, what are parents looking for? And that's where it's really important also to know SEO. And what is SEO? SEO is search engine optimization, right? So basically what you want to do is think about, how do parents think? And I know in our industry, the word daycare can be a dirty word. Many of us don't like it. We don't want to be called daycare. We take offense to it. I know for my program, I have worked very hard to have a preschool. We are very proud of the fact that we are a preschool program, even though we are a full day. I'm open from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. But I'm sorry, we're open 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And we are a preschool. We are not a daycare. We worked very hard to be a preschool. If you're a daycare, that is totally fine. That is your business model. That is what you choose to be. Don't let anyone tell you any different. It's what you choose, and that is okay. But for us, it is what I am. So I know that when parents open up their phone, they are going to search daycare, and they're going to put my city name in it, right? I may not want to be called a daycare, but it is what parents are searching. So you need to make sure that when parents are searching for you, you're going to use the criteria that they are using. I did a ton of research, and the statistics show that 90% of parents use the term daycare. They don't use the term childcare. They don't use early childhood education. They don't use preschool. They use daycare. So when you're doing that SEO search, you want to make sure that that word is somewhere in the search so that people will find you. I also want to make sure that you do include the words childcare. The other thing I want you to really think about is when you use the word childcare, how do you spell childcare? If you look, when I did research on this, I found that licensing throughout the country is kind of split on that. Some licensing agencies in the United States spell childcare as 2 words, and some spell it as 1 word. Many different corporations that are in our industry spell childcare as 1 word, and a lot of them spell them as 2 words. If you're on Microsoft Word creating a document, it's going to correct you if you try to make it 2 words, and it'll make it into 1. The proper spelling is actually 2 words, but there is so many different variations. So when parents are searching, how are they going to spell it? How are they going to spell daycare, right? Some people may spell it as 2 different words. Most people do spell the word daycare as 1 word, but childcare, that's something we need to think about. Okay, so when you're doing your searches, you need to make sure that you're doing it both ways. Childcare as 1 word, childcare as 2 words. Really important to have that variation. Also preschool. What about the parents who are just looking for preschool or pre-K or pre-kindergarten, right? Or babysitting, care.com, things like that. So making sure that you have variation. And how do you do that? Search engines are basically fueled by words. So the more words that are in your website, the better off you are, and the more people are apt to find you. So one of the things I did years ago for my childcare website was I created a blog, and I wrote about 10 to 15 articles that really pertain to parents, are very helpful, and have information that really will help your childcare center also. For example, I have an article in mine that is titled, "They Don't Do This at Home." How many times do we hear a parent saying, well, they never do this at home. Why do they do it at childcare? So I wrote an article in a blog post in my website that's titled that. So now it serves 2 purposes. It puts a lot of different keywords in there, right, that parents can find, but it also adds some content that is very useful. So all of my blog posts are serving 2 purposes. They're helping educate parents, right, which is something we seriously need in our field, just educating parents on what quality really is. And it also adds words for our search engine. So I am going to wait and let my IT expert explain that to you when Raul gets here, but I'm going to move on to the phone call. After they find you on the internet, your parents are going to pick up the phone and they're going to call you. So that's the next thing you really, really want to look at is, how are you answering the phones? Are you answering the phones, right? It is so important. My husband used to really get at me when we first started my first time as an owner, because my husband's a salesman, always has been, and he really understands the power of the telephone. You've got to answer the phone every time. I didn't want to hear it, of course. You know, I'm a wife. I didn't want to hear it. And I was just like, oh, but we're so busy. It's not important. What's important is taking care of the children, which is absolutely the number one most important thing. But the phone is so important. They found you on the internet. That is your first impression. How did you look? You're looking fantastic, right? But now they call in. They can't get a hold of you. So what message is that sending? So answering the phone is very, very important, right? Every single time. And I know that can be difficult. So I'll tell you what we did at my center. I ordered one of those expandable phone packs with all of the, wireless handheld phones. I'm sorry, I'm like totally blanking on what they're called. But basically, we have about 6 of them, and they are all over the building. Every classroom has one. There's one in the office. There's one in the kitchen, and they're just everywhere. The reason we do this is because I know what it's like to be a director, an owner, an assistant director, whatever. You're going to be in different rooms, right? All over the place. So you want to have a phone close by at all times. Something that you're not dashing back to the office to try and get to the phone. The other thing is you want to train certain teachers to answer the phone. If they hear answering, it's at its third ring, answer the phone. But I want you to really understand, I said you want to train your teachers. They don't just get to answer your phone. And there is a resource that I have created for you guys. I do have it here. And it's basically a phone script. That is what we use when we are making our phone calls, answering the phone. We use the phone script. I'm so sorry, you guys. I just had it here. But basically, it's going to walk through and help your teachers know exactly the questions that you want to ask and the kind of things that you want to talk about on the phone. You want to be prepared. The other thing I really want you to think about is when you answer the phone and you're in a classroom or whatever, I know that you're doing your job and you might be in a classroom, and I want you to really be aware of what do you hear, right? Because that's what they're hearing in the background. And what you understand and know is organized chaos, because being in a preschool is organized chaos, right? We live in a world of organized chaos. There's always some great fun happening, but it makes it sound loud and rambunctious. There might be a baby crying in the background. To the person on the phone who has no experience in our field, that just sounds like chaos. And we really want to make sure that we're careful and we're putting that best foot forward. So explain it to them. Acknowledge what's in the background. Tell the person on the phone, you know, I am sorry, but I am in a classroom right now and these kids are having a really fun time. So I know it's loud and you hear all the fun that's happening behind me. Or if there's a baby crying, I'm sorry, I know it's really loud in the background right now, but I'm helping out in my infant room. And there's just this baby right now who's really hungry and having a rough time, but we're getting to her, right? Acknowledge it. Sometimes you may not be able to leave the classroom because you'll leave them out of ratio. That's okay, but acknowledge what they're hearing in the background. If you can leave the classroom and have a nice quiet conversation, you need to leave the classroom and have a nice quiet conversation. Remember, this is part of the person's first impression of your center. Your website and that phone call are the first impressions. First impressions are correct 80% of the time. 80% of the time, you guys. So I want you to really think about that. What are people seeing the first time? What are they hearing the first time, right? How are you coming out as a professional? In our field, we are so desperate to be seen as professionals, but a lot of times we don't act like it. If we want to be seen like professionals, we have to earn that, right? And this is one of the ways you're going to do it. You're not going to call a law office and hear chaos in the background, right? And it is okay, you guys. The sounds that you hear at a preschool, I want to hear them. That is totally fine. That means children are growing, they're having fun. The louder it is, the messier it is, the better. That means you've got a great environment that's nurturing children, right? As long as it's not like 20 screaming, crying babies. It's laughter and fun happening. That's okay, but acknowledge it, explain it, educate your parents on what they're hearing, right? One of the biggest jobs that I'll teach you guys, especially in the tour, is we're really working this entire time to educate parents. We're just constantly educating them throughout this entire process. See, Kimberly says, that's so true. Organized chaos can't be seen through the phone. It's simply chaos. So yes, it is. Absolutely, Kimberly. They can't see it. Like when you're doing the tour and they look at the classroom, they can see the children are having a great time, right? But you can't, when you're on the phone, they don't see. All they hear is the chaos. So you want to make sure that you really take control of that. So the other thing is, when you answer the phone, there's definitely things that you want to do. You want to make sure you're getting the person's name and the child's name, and you want to use their name several times throughout the conversation so that they feel personal and they feel heard, right? If you guys have my workbook, at the very end of my workbook is this phone script. If you look at my phone script, it will tell you, like, first thing I'm going to prompt you, ask for their name. And then throughout the conversation, it's going to say use name, use name. This is something you can laminate and put in your classrooms by the phone. So if your teachers are answering the phones, they can use your script, right? But make sure when they answer the phone, they're being very professional. They're using their name. They're introducing themselves. They're using your center's name. So make sure that you use the phone script whenever answering the phone. And remember, this is really the second time a parent is going to encounter your center in any way, shape, or form, right? The first time is going to be when they Google search you and find you online. Second time is going to be the phone call. So these two areas are things that we neglect and we don't think about, but they are absolutely one of the most important things you can do because these are your first impressions. So I see Raul has joined me. So Raul, I am going to bring you into the stream so we can talk. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Evelyn. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So Raul, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, introduce yourself for me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rahul Berry. I am founder and CEO of Pre-to-3. We are managed services for childcare. We work for childcare and preschool industry. We provide marketing support, software support, and we also offer integrations, third-party integrations to childcare across US and Canada. So that's what we do.
Yes, and I use Raul for both my companies, and he's done an amazing job. He helps manage my website for my childcare center and also my social media. And like I was telling you guys right now, social media is really a huge area that people are finding you. I've learned the hard way, basically, that Facebook and YouTube are actually search engines, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine there is. So having really strong presence there is very, very important. So Raul, why don't you talk a little bit about why search engine optimization is so important, what my audience should be doing, and why their websites are also so important.
Great question, Evelyn. As I say, it's very simple. If all the childcare owners can do three things, they can grow their enrollments to a great extent. Have a great looking website, have a rank top on Google pages, and dominate your social media or be engaged on social media. These are the three things. If you do it correctly, I don't think so there should be any childcare which would not have a waiting list if they do it correctly. So that's where, I think it's very important, because all the consumers, the way they are consuming content or the way they are consuming brands is through these three channels. You look on web, you find out a business. In this case, it would be a childcare. You find out a childcare. You go through the website. You see the website, you see the facility, and you also go through the social media, see the reviews, see the engagement, and then you make a decision whether I'm going to pick up the phone and make my appointment, or I'm going to visit the facility and go for a tour. So the first decision-making filter or the hurdle is your online or digital presence. That's what makes or breaks 50% of your clientele. Now, even if you have a review, even if I, as a parent, talking to you and telling you, asking you, Evelyn, can you suggest a great school or a great preschool in Reno, and you suggest me, I would first definitely go through the website. So that's important.
Right. And that's exactly, I totally agree with you that that is your first impression. So for those of you watching out there, what I want you to do is really think to yourself, what do my competition's websites look like? Open them up, look at your competition website. How does it compare to your website? And if you're, and then think about your website. How does your website look right now, right? Is this something that you really want to improve on? Is this something that you really need
Right.
to? Because Raul's absolutely right. Is your website going to be something that is encouraging them to call you? Or are they going to look at it and say, ooh, I don't know if I want my child here? And what kind of reviews do you have out there, right? Do you have any reviews? Are you looking at a childcare center, maybe your competition has 20, 30 positive reviews and you have none. So that's another thing that's very, very important. Or maybe you have a negative review. Very important to be aware of these things. Very important to just face them head on and really just deal with them. So what else do you have for us, Raul? What else are you suggesting for my
I think you made a very good point of reviews. I think it is important to get positive reviews, but also what consumers and what companies like Google and Facebook are looking at, are you responsive enough to the reviews? If you are getting a good reviews, are you responding to those reviews? If you're getting a negative review, are you responding? Are you apologizing? Are you clarifying yourself? That makes a lot of difference. They want you to be engaged. So review becomes a very important part. And social media and search engines like Google or Bing, they really give us this opportunity where even if there is a negative review, we can respond to that. So that's really important. Technically speaking, for website, it is very important that you always update your website periodically, because we are in a tech world. Every 3 months things change. If your website is looking great on a desktop, but if it is not looking great on a mobile phone, it's no use, because 90% of all users are opening sites on the mobile phone. If you don't have good pictures of your location, if you're not very clear on your staffs, if you're not very upcoming about your staffs, you don't have profiles of a director or a site supervisor, it is a big negative. So people would really want to see those aspects in the website. They want to see that the website is clean, it has got all the right content, right imagery. That's important for the website. In terms of then if the website is if your website is up to date, you can also get better ranking on Google, because your website is not crashing, your website is not slow, your website has got a good page speed, so it ranks higher on Google ranking. So that's important to connect.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point. I wasn't aware of the fact that they look for engagement in your reviews, so that's something that, well, thank goodness that we hired you, right? Because you can actually help us out with that.
Correct, yeah.
It's all looking beautiful. So for those of you, you can check out on Facebook, my childcare center is Zooming Around Preschool. If you find that page, Raul's company actually manages that for me. And you can see why it is so important. And remember, Facebook is a search engine too. So when people, if you just go in, Google search daycare, childcare, whatever, and then your city's name, right? Or your area's name, you'll see your Facebook pages are coming up. They're some of the first things that come up. It's not just websites. The other thing I really want you to think about is look at your competition's website and look at your own and look which one seems professional, right? Which one seems well put together? What kind of image are you moving forward with, and what are they moving forward with? So those are the kind of things you really need to compare and contrast with your competition, because if they look like they're this beautiful center that's just really professionally ran and they've got this really professional team, and they've got openings, who are they going to call? Who is that potential client going to actually make the phone call to? And then when they call, if they just sound really professional on the phone and everything just goes really smooth, they've got this beautiful website, their social media is really engaged and beautiful, you really get a good view of who this center is. without even ever picking up the phone, just looking on your phone, right? Without ever the phone call, just looking at the search on your phone. And then you give them a call and they've got this really professional persona over the phone. Are they going to even go any further? Or are they just going to go with that center? So those are things really, really important to think about. So, Ro, let's talk a little bit about YouTube. I was really actually surprised to know that YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google. So I've realized the importance of YouTube. So would you recommend doing like YouTube videos, maybe like a virtual tour on your website, anything like that?
I think that's a very important step, considering that now due to pandemic, we are having a lot of protocols in place, COVID protocols in place. So virtual tours are the new norms. So I personally think that if you have a virtual tour and if you're putting it on YouTube, that would really give you a very good results on top of Google and on Facebook. We can, because all these search engines, all these platforms are integrated to each other. They talk to each other. So if you have a video on YouTube, you can post it on Facebook, you can post it on Instagram. You would have better search results, because if you see in on Google, if you are searching a keyword, it also shows you an option for videos. Sometimes video also come on the results SERPs. A very important thing over here to note is if the childcare community or the business is within 3 to 5 miles radius, so it's not so hard to rank higher if you have the right strategy in place. If I'm living in Mountain View, I'm not looking for a childcare in San Francisco or in San Jose. I'm looking for in Mountain View. And if Mountain View is a big city, I'm looking for a smaller neighborhood in Mountain View where I would, like, if I'm in New York, I would not be looking at the best childcare centers in New York. I would be looking at, if I'm in Manhattan, I would be looking at, even in Manhattan, I will be looking at within my block or 2 blocks, radius. YouTube really helps because a lot of people want to see videos, and as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video is worth 1,000 pictures. So people really want to see video because they can really look and feel the facility. So I think that's a very smart thing. If you can put a few videos on your website as well as on YouTube, that would really elevate the whole human experience your parents can have. So that's a very smart thing.
Well, I love that you mentioned that. It's that human experience that we're trying to bring to our clients, our potential clients. It's really just making them feel like they know your center before they've even picked up the phone. They've just got a really good feeling for who you are and what you are. I know I do that with restaurants. Whenever I'm traveling, I Google search restaurants. I'm always trying to find what is the best restaurant near me. First thing I do is I look at the pictures. I read reviews.
Right.
I'm looking at their menu. I'm looking at how is this going to make me feel, right? You're looking at, if you really think in the sense of your 5 senses, right? How you really got to always be aware of that. How are you making people feel? How are you making what, even down to the smells, what kind of smells do you think they're going to smell when they walk in? What are they going to hear? You want to make it become as alive as possible.
Yeah, another thing I would add to that is once you have that human experience, what you're essentially doing is you're giving ownership to your future customer. Mm-hmm. If a customer sees your facility online and when they come to visit in person, they're essentially taking ownership of that that experience. Oh wow, I saw this. Oh, it seems, oh, this is how it looks good. And that's when they really feel that they know the place and it makes them feel comfortable.
Yes.
So that's something which really really matters. Right. So if you're in that 5-mile radius, if you can just put this experience as your top priority, where each and every person who is coming to my facility can have that ownership. I don't think so there is it's very complicated task to fill up the seats.
Yes. Well, and yesterday we talked a lot about really knowing your client, the type of person you want to serve. And so we're going to go back to that from yesterday. So if you guys missed yesterday's video, make sure you watch it. Make sure you do the homework. I did leave homework in the thread, but I'm asking you guys, and in the workbook, I do have you describe who is that potential client, right? What do they drive? Where do they eat? Where do they shop? What do they wear? So now on your website, you're going to, the writing is going to be directed to that person, right? You're talking just like you're having a conversation, so that you're really making that human experience and that connection. So you're really looking at what gaps are you filling, who is your ideal client, and you want to talk to them, right? You really want to be careful of the kind of language you're using, the things you're referring to, so that you are relatable. That is another really important thing. And again, I talked to you guys a little bit about the blog I have on my website. That's something that's really helpful for that. Just make sure as you're writing it, you know, if you don't want to be writing to college professors, if you're looking for grocery store workers, those are the kind of things that you really want to be careful for.
Right. One of the things which we forget is when we are so much focused on clients, we forget that the future or the prospective staff, they also look at our website. They also look at the social media. They also look at, like, how are we doing, how are we doing in social media and on the website, so that's also pretty important to, kind of understand that, why, when you want to attract talent, or when you want to attract quality talent, you want to make sure that you are just making sure that your virtual presence really speaks of what you are, rather than, somebody has to do a guessing game. Oh, the website is not looking good, but I hope the facility is good. We don't want that.
Yeah, and that's a really great point. In the land where it is getting very hard for us to recruit right now, that's actually a really good point, where with your competition, helping you to align with clients that are really, or with potential staff that are going to align with you, will help you with retention. That is huge. I actually recently had a teacher actually say to me that they weren't going to work for us because they knew that they would be held to too high standard. They literally didn't want to work for a childcare center that holds high standards. And so that is something, well, I was like relieved, right? I'm relieved, because people do put their best face forward. You don't always know who they are. So to me, it was like, well, I'm so glad you chose not to, because I definitely want people who hold themselves to high standards. So that is something that that's a great point. You'll help to attract the type of people you want working for you also. And hopefully they will have checked out your website, so that they know that they align with you philosophically.
Right. Yeah. Another point I would like to say is Google My Business. Google My Business is one of the best tools for local businesses. It's there on the maps. It gives you the local attributes. It helps local businesses more than anything else. If you can conquer Google My Business, which is a big part of SEO, I think if you can correctly, or if you can, because when I see Google My Business accounts, I see people making a lot of mistakes. They are not putting the right names. They are not putting the right attributes. The holiday schedule or the programs they are offering. Google My Business offers everything. You can post pictures, videos, everything. And it is one of the fastest search results out there. If you can do it correctly, you can really rank higher much faster than anything else.
Right. And Google is by far the largest search engine in the world. So you definitely want to dominate the Google space for sure. The other thing too that I would tell people not to discount, and before I hired you and when I was still a very struggling owner, one of the things I did was made sure to register my center on every single free site. Again, if you just Google your city name and childcare, you're going to see a lot of different things come on, like care.com, United States Schools. There's a ton of different there's tons of websites that you can register your preschool on for free and then link it to your website. So make sure you're registered everywhere that you can be, and because that will actually help to be found on those search engines. So Raul, thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you. I know.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's been great. And if anybody has a question for Raul, will you put your contact information in the comments so that anyone can contact you? That would be fantastic. And again, everybody, make sure that you set the time aside for tomorrow, where tomorrow we are going to be talking about your professional persona. What are you going to look like? What feeling do you want people to have, and how do you want to be seen throughout the world? I hope everybody has a great rest of their day, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you. And you have